Bo Africa on this Thursday, and a very warm welcome as we broadcast live from our Auckland Park studios here in Johannesburg to the rest of the African continent. Our top story this hour. The appeals court in Bloemfontein will deliver judgment this morning in SABC Chief Operating Officer's Hlaudi Motsoeneng's appeal case. Now, he's appealing against the High Court ruling that he be suspended and disciplinary steps be taken against him. The Democratic Alliance went to the High Court to enforce remedial action that was proposed by the Public Protector Hlaudi Motsoeneng. The Public Protector's report dealt with allegations of gross maladministration and abuse of power at the public broadcaster, as well as the irregular appointment of Motsoeneng. The High Court in the Western Cape ruled that Motsoeneng's findings were not binding or enforceable. However, they could also not be ignored and needed to be properly considered. The appeal court reserved judgment on the 18th of last month. Now, for the latest on the case, we cross to SABC special correspondent Richard Newton, who is in Bloemfontein. A very good morning to you, Richard. And can you paint us the picture of the scene outside the appeals court in Bloemfontein? Is there a number of supporters like the last time we saw?
Well, good morning, Elvis. No, it's very different here this morning. As you correctly stated, last time there were a group calling themselves the Friends of Hlaudi Motsoeneng who were here to support him. There were members of political parties involved in this action that we're here. But today, it's just myself at the moment and our crew out here. We're expecting the judgment to come through in the next 15 to 20 minutes. And of course, as you correctly said in the run-up to this crossing, that it is the appeal of our COO, Mr. Hlaudi Motsoeneng, against that High Court judgment. Now, of course, this is being watched by people all over the country for the implication it will have on the Public Protector's findings on that issue, because this is where the entire process started. You'll recall that her report made certain suggestions. The DA felt that they hadn't been implemented, took it to the court, and eventually we wound up here. So whatever judgment is made here today, people are watching to see how that will impact on the issue of the Public Protector's findings. Are they enforceable? Are they binding? Can they be ignored? Should action be taken? That'll all come into play. And as I say, we're expecting within the next 10 to 15 minutes that judgment to come down, and it is on the issue of the suspension and the disciplinary hearing that was ordered by the High Court.
Will the CEO be present this morning in court?
Well, we haven't seen him, but we have seen SABC legal representative here this morning. Obviously, as you well know, Elvis, with cases like this, once the judgment has been read, and it is purely just the very basic judgment that is read, then the legal teams need to go and look at the documents, because there is a much bigger document with all the details in. So they'll need to go and look at the judgment. They'll need to look at why certain decisions were made or weren't made. So I would imagine that once the judgment is made, we will get comment from people who will need to study the entire document before making a decision on the way forward.
Now, so you said in the next couple of minutes. Do we know exactly what time that will happen and that judgment will be delivered?
Well, we expect it to come down at about 9:15. There may be some administrative jobs that need to get done first, so it may be a little bit longer than that. But we certainly, within the next half an hour, expect that judgment to come down. And as I said earlier, it will just be the very basic conclusion and maybe one or two recommendations. But the real meat of what the judges thought about this and what their decisions were based on will, of course, be in a much more comprehensive document, which the legal eagles will then look at and decide on how to take it forward, whichever way the judgment goes this morning.
Richard, you'll keep us updated as it unfolds there in Bloemfontein. That's our special correspondent, Richard Newton.